Boldwood presents A Killer Guest List, written by Sarah Bonner and read by Patricia Gallimore and Hannah Churchill. Prologue. Cassie. A 14-hour shift in the middle of a 40-degree heatwave has left me in the foulest of moods. So, when my front door jams as I push it open, I let out an almighty scream. I've had enough. A commie chef who thinks he's God's gift to womankind and can turn me. An HR manager who thinks no one has a home life and we can change our schedules at a moment's notice. 3 new waitresses with fuck-all experience who can't even carry a plate each without spilling sauce all over the place. I shove on the door, and eventually it opens, leaving a folded envelope on the mat. I pick it up. Rani and I rarely get post. I mean, everything is online now, and we definitely don't get posh post with the address written in swirling calligraphic script. Inside, I find an invitation, an embossed outline of a fancy manor house on the front. On the back, written in that same handwriting, are the words, "Dear Miss Cole, you and a guest are cordially invited to the 50th anniversary of Murder on the Moors, September the 12th to the 14th, at the Holne House Hotel, Dartmoor, Devon. Return to the golden age of crime fiction at this luxurious 1920s-themed weekend of murder, mayhem, and madness. This is an exclusive event. Guests are strictly by invitation only, and tickets cannot be exchanged or sold. Contact our concierge for prices and booking information." Who the hell is inviting me to a fancy murder mystery weekend? Unless it's meant for Rani. She works for a travel company, but it's mainly booking boring business flights and other such mundanity for CEOs who have no appreciation for how hard she works. She has colleagues who get sent on fancy trips to test exclusive resorts, but Rani doesn't get invited on those. Instead, she gets sent to cut deals with airport hotels and lounges, flying all over Europe, but never actually seeing beyond the walls of the airport. Besides, she uses her maiden name at work. We both became Cole when we married. It's a mashup of both our surnames, Kumar and Olsen. It also means cabbage in German, which kind of tickled me. For a moment, a frisson runs up my spine. Perhaps it's a job interview. No, that's stupid. I'm a middle manager at the Raven, a swanky hotel in central London. I'm not considered talent. No one is trying to poach me. Ridiculous. I do a quick Google of the hotel. It looks vaguely familiar. Holne House. Where do I know that name from? Of course, Karen. Karen used to work for me at the Raven. She was good, really good. Destined for great things, kind of good. I wrote her a glowing recommendation, and she got herself an assistant manager job at a posh Devon hotel. Getting us on the guest list must be a thank you. But I bet tickets would still cost a fortune, even if Karen's wrangled us a mate's rate deal. Shame. I think it could be exactly the kind of thing Rani would enjoy, and we could have a weekend away, just the two of us. Leave the puppies with my parents, and spend some quality time together. When was the last time we went away? We were meant to go to Greece in June, but then Rani had to work, and so we cancelled. She said all the right things about how sorry she was, that she was gutted we'd have to miss it, that she'd make it up to me. But I knew deep down she was pleased. Rani is incapable of relaxing and can barely even fathom the idea of sitting on a beach for a few days. She only agreed to Greece in the first place because I nagged her repeatedly about our honeymoon that still hadn't materialised 2 years after our wedding. But a murder mystery weekend would be perfect. It would give her enough to sink her teeth into and leave enough free time for some spa action. Plus, I do rather love anything involving puzzles and problem solving. I leave the invitation on the shelf by the front door and head upstairs for a shower. Rani will be home from walking the fur baby soon, and I stink like a badger. The invitation has vanished when I come downstairs, hair dripping rivulets down my back. Rani is making coffee, and the puppies run to greet me, tails wagging so fast I think they might take off. We rescued these 2 huge, fluffy loons 6 months ago, and they have turned our lives upside down in the very best way. I call them puppies, but Freya is 3 and Storm is 5. They ended up at the shelter when their owner's husky puppy farm was raided. I try not to think about what they went through before, but Rani and I are giving them their best lives. "I've sent a pitch," Rani says, after I've petted the puppies. She draws me into an embrace and kisses my lips. We don't ever say hello or goodbye to each other, just continue as if we've been together the whole day. It's a silly superstition. The idea that if you didn't say goodbye, then you never really left. But it's something Rani takes seriously. "Pitch?" I ask. "For the murder mystery weekend. Sounds like fun, and I think it would do us good to get away. Do you think they'll go for it?" I'm struggling to understand what she's talking about. "Pitch? They? You weren't listening, were you?" She sounds almost heartbroken, but it's laced with irritation. Was she talking to me while I made a fuss of the dogs and I didn't pay attention? Again. She says I do this a lot, and then she gets annoyed with me. I try to smooth things over with a white lie. "Of course I was—" "It wasn't a question," she interrupts. "You obviously weren't listening, because if you were, then you'd know what I was talking about." So much for smoothing things over. But I guess she has a point. "Sorry." She nods, the tiniest movement of her head to show she accepts my apology. This time, at least. It's just enough to let me relax, to walk back from the edge, knowing I haven't completely messed things up. "I want to get back into journalism," she tells me. "So I sent a pitch to that travel magazine I subscribe to. Perhaps they'll fund the murder mystery weekend for us, and then I can write about it." There's a tinge of hopefulness in her voice, like she's imagining a better life. One where she doesn't have to put up with her bitch of a boss every day and spend half her life in grotty airports. I think that sounds like a brilliant idea. She gives me a withering look. Because obviously it's a brilliant idea. She thought of it. Her phone dings to say she's had an email. I watch her as she scans the text, her beautiful face cracking into a smile. They love the idea. Apparently they've been wanting someone to cover that weekend for literally years. But it's invitation only, and so they've never been able to send anyone. She looks up at me, her eyes shining with the possibilities. "I think it was Karen who sent the invite," I say, tentatively, bracing for her reaction. Karen and Rani never got on. To my surprise, all she does is shrug, as if it really doesn't matter. "Who cares? This is it, the chance I've been hoping for." She jumps up and down on the balls of her feet, the thing she does when she's super excited, and something she's barely done recently. I love how happy she looks, the stress of her job erased from her features for a few moments. We're going to have so much fun. Part 1. Arrival and Orientation.
Chapter 1, Sadie. I've attended every single Murder on the Moors event since they started in 1975. It's socially acceptable to be an Agatha Christie fan with a penchant for a murder mystery weekend. And it provides the perfect cover for the real reason I'm so interested in poisons and policing methods, and just how easy, or otherwise, it might be to get away with killing. 50 years of murder mystery weekends, 50 years of solving problems for my friends. Issues like ghastly husbands and disreputable bosses, and even absolute strangers who think the world owes them compliant women who don't fight back. It's amazing how many truly abhorrent people there are in the world, and amazing just how easy it has been to rebalance the scales. It feels somewhat fitting that this year I'm taking Alyssa as my +1. She's my goddaughter, the granddaughter of my best friend, and the first woman I killed for. And a 25-year-old ball of energy who wouldn't exist if it wasn't for that fateful night 5 decades ago. Just like her grandmother always did, she arrives in a whirlwind of chaos. "And Sadie!" she calls across the arrivals area of Gatwick Airport, chestnut-coloured hair flying behind her as she wheels her suitcase at breakneck speed towards me. I pull her into an embrace. It's been months since we last saw each other, and I've missed her. "What perfume are you wearing?" I ask as we pull apart. "There's a jasmine and orange top note, but a more subtle cedarwood base." She grimaces. "You wouldn't approve." "Try me. I'm not that much of a snob when it comes to fragrance." "Kylie Jenner," she says, almost apologetically. I keep my face impassive. It's not the most salubrious, but it could have been a lot worse. "I like it. It suits you. Now then, how was the flight?" She rolls her eyes theatrically. "Ugh, you know I hate flying, but they did serve Prosecco, so—" She shrugs her shoulders. I can smell the sweetness of the wine on her breath. I told her I'd pay for a first-class ticket, but she refused. "I have a job now," she told me, voice tinged with pride. "I've organised a car to take us to Devon. It's a 4-hour drive, and I'd far rather spend the time chatting with Alyssa than navigating the A303 myself. Plus, there's always something so exhilarating about arriving in a sleek black Mercedes, complete with driver in one of those peaked caps. I've always had a love for the theatrical. "Shall we get car snacks?" she asks, looping her free hand through my arm. "There's an M&S, and I've been watching a million new product videos on TikTok. Did you know they have a strawberry sandwich? Literally pieces of strawberry and lashings of cream in between slices of brioche bread. God, I've missed England." She spends at least 10 minutes in the fairly small shop, oohing and eyeing over food I think nothing about ordering every day. But I suppose I don't have to live in New York and consume a diet that is 50% corn syrup and 50% trans fats. "Look, they have the sandwich," she exclaims, dragging me towards the meal deal section. "I've been dying to try this." It looks a little... I don't really know the right words. It looks like the kind of thing you find in a mid-price hotel that's trying to be groundbreaking and failing miserably. "You haven't heard about this?" she asks. "It's literally all over social media." "You know I don't understand all that." I flick my wrist. It's not strictly true. I'm not a total Luddite. I understand the mechanics behind social media and that people are getting absolutely obsessed with all kinds of niche things because they saw them on TikTok. Some of it's even working to my advantage. I've started following a few crime authors who share their research processes, and that has been extremely enlightening. I just don't understand why people allow it to suck all their time. Elisa, or Ali, as she now calls herself, has been living in New York for the last 9 years, since her mum passed away and her bounder of a father insisted she went to live with him instead of coming to stay with me and continue her education at St. Paul's. I was livid at him, at the world. But I've tried to make the best of it, visiting Ali in the States every few months and hosting her during the long summer holidays in London. I'd hoped she'd move back to the UK once she graduated, but then she got a job offer she couldn't turn down. Not that I approve of what she does, but then again, I suppose she probably wouldn't approve of my life choices, if she had any idea of the things I get up to. On the journey down to Devon, Ali tells me more about the job. It's just a consultancy, she says, but I can see from the sparkle in her eyes that it's far more than that. What kind of consultancy? We support legal firms to build cases for their clients. There's 2 main strands: building courtroom narratives to ensure the jury can fully engage with the evidence being presented, which means, I interrupt, but not out of rudeness. I just want to make sure I'm understanding what she's saying in the midst of all the buzzwords. She takes a breath. That's the boring stuff, really. It means we break down complex stuff like securities fraud into little sound bites so the jury knows what we're talking about. Oh, I trail off. I don't want to say it, but it sounds extremely dull. The other strand of the consultancy is much more interesting, she says, with a grin. We help advise on the jury selection itself. So, I'll research the potential jurors, and then we suggest who may react more or less favorably. That feels... I search for the right word. The most obvious one is unethical. But I know Ali is very proud of her job, and I don't want to offend her. It's fascinating. She lights up as she talks. I mainly work online, seeing what they search for, who they interact with, digging into their prejudices and understanding who they are when they think no one is watching. Last week, I discovered a man who we thought was sweetness personified, a kindergarten teacher with 2 rescue kittens who looked after his sick mother, was actually selling meth over the dark web. More than enough evidence to get him kicked off the jury and a replacement brought in. A replacement who would be more favourable. Exactly. Our client was found not guilty, and I'm in line for a promotion. I open my mouth to speak, but I'm not sure how I feel about this job. It sounds like she helps the wealthy get away with their crimes. You might think, given my own extracurricular activities, that this is the kind of job I could get behind. But here's the thing. I do not condone the uber-rich using their resources to buy their innocence. Yes, what I do is technically a crime, but I prefer to think of it as karma, coming back to bite, as protecting women whom society allows to bear the brunt of oafish men who never learned to share. The first man I killed was Ali's grandfather. Not that she knows that, mind. He was a horrid man, a big brute with no discernible charms beyond an estate in Surrey and a pile of money from a long-dead uncle. My best friend Olivia was only 22, and 15 years his junior, when she married him at the behest of her own father. She was pregnant within 6 months, and that's when he really let his true colours shine. I knew that he would kill her one day. I can't explain how I knew. It was just a feeling deep in my waters. He would kill her and the daughter she bore. so I killed him first. I was a silly, spoiled little child, and it was the first good thing I ever did. And so I carried on. Well, if you have a talent, aren't you duty-bound to use it? And I definitely have a talent for murder.
Chapter 2. Cassie. Freya and Storm start to whine the moment Rani closes the door. I've promised to be the one who takes them to my parents for the weekend while she finally gets an hour to herself to prepare for our trip. "We're going to see Granny," I call toward the boot of the Prius in as cheery a voice as I can muster. A wanker in a taxi cuts me up as I approach the junction for the motorway, and I swallow down the stream of expletives that threatens to erupt from my throat. Rani says I need to swear a bit less, and so I'm trying to keep myself in check. I've been doing very well. Instead, I allow my mind to wander to the serious bodily harm I would do to the driver if I had the opportunity. Dad is waiting at the gate to their property, wearing the same shirt he's worn every day, except Christmas, weddings, and trips to his Masonic lodge. For the last decade. He bought a dozen in a sale and will wear them until they literally fall apart. They appear to have some kind of magic property, and like cockroaches, will probably outlast us all. He kisses my cheeks as I get out to greet him. "You okay, love?" he asks softly, his hands finding my shoulders and discovering the sheer volume of tension I'm carrying in them. "I'm fine, Dad." We both know it's a lie. A few months ago, I had a few too many glasses of wine and confessed that sometimes I wonder what my life would have looked like if I hadn't married Rani, hadn't signed myself up to spending large tracts of time on my own when she worked away, hadn't allowed my own world to shrink for her. But we both know that I didn't really mean those things, that I love Rani and the life we've built together, that we shouldn't talk about these things out loud in the cold light of day. "Is that my grandbabies?" calls a high-pitched voice from the front door. My mum practically runs out, cardigan flying behind her like a cape in her rush to get to the dogs. "Oh, look at you two," she coos as she flings open the boot. Some women are born to be parents, some are born to be grandmothers, and some are born to look after puppies. Mum is in the third camp. Her whole life suddenly falling into place the second she laid eyes on Freya and Storm. I open the passenger door and begin to hand bags to Dad. "Rani packed, so everything will be there. If you can't find something, make sure you look in all the little inside pockets of the bags. I promise it'll be there somewhere." "We used to drop you at your grandmother's with nothing more than a carrier bag," Dad says, as I loop a fourth bag around his shoulder and he staggers slightly under the weight. I pull the final 2 bags out of the car and follow Dad into the house. It's where I grew up. A place full of memories and photos and stuff. So much stuff. I've been leaving hints about this thing called Swedish death cleaning, where retirees declutter their lives while they are still fit and healthy to release themselves of the burden of all their unneeded possessions. My parents have not got the message yet. "Are you sure you're going to be okay with them?" I ask as Dad dumps the pile of bags on the kitchen table. "We'll be grand. Your mother has been telling the entire world she's getting her furry grandkids for a long weekend. They are guests of honor at the Cancer Research coffee morning in about," he checks his watch, "45 minutes. And then their presence is expected at Gin and Book Club later, before tomorrow, when they will be presented to the other golf widows at the club." he grins. Your mother will tell everyone about their horrible start in life, but how they have now been rescued to live in the lap of luxury. He pulls me into a hug and kisses my forehead. Now, you go and have a nice weekend at a swanky hotel. He steps back. It's kind of a work trip, I remind him. Work trip, my arse. Just remember, it's the first time you can spoil your wife since you two got married. He raises an eyebrow at me. I promise you that the whole happy wife, happy life idiom is absolutely true. He glances at Mum to make sure she isn't listening, but he still drops his voice as he adds, Marriage isn't easy, but it's worth it. Just make sure you look after each other, okay? He ends with his stern father voice, the one he only uses very rarely, and only so I know this is advice I actually need to listen to. The things he tells me like this are the things most people take for granted, but I need to be told. I file the advice away in a folder marked important, do not forget. Pamper wife who deserves a break. It jostles against other gems like make eye contact when talking to people, and fake it until you make it, and sometimes a white lie is better than the truth. Love you, Dad, I say, before reaching out to hug him one last time. I say goodbye to the puppies, and then get back into the car. My mum has still not actually said a word to me as she lavishes her attention on Freya and Storm, but I'm choosing to let it go. Drive safe. Love you, Dad says as he closes my car door. He'll now do his usual thing of directing me out of the driveway. He doesn't realise I have a reversing camera, and it'll beep like a maniac for the next few minutes as he stands far too close to the back of the car, the very obstruction the Prius is warning me about. But he means well. As I pull onto the M23, I instruct Siri to play Chastened Status and crank up the volume. Rani will want to listen to Blackpink all the way to Devon, or possibly the soundtrack to that K-pop Demon Hunters film, and so I need to get my drum and bass fix in now. There's something about the heavy beat that quietens my brain in a way that makes zero sense, but is 100% effective. I only contemplate killing 2 people on the drive back to Clapham, one for switching lanes without indicating, and the other for throwing their McDonald's bag out of the window on the motorway. And I feel pretty good as I pull up outside the house. My mood improves further when I set eyes on my wife in a gorgeous black maxi dress, her long dark hair in a braid down her back. You look incredible, I tell her and drop a kiss on her lips. I thought I'd try to look like I fit in at the Holm House Hotel, she replies, affecting a posh accent for the hotel name. Let's do this then. I pick up our little suitcases, staggering slightly with the weight of hers. Did you pack bricks? Wine, she winks. You're a woman after my own heart. I am going to lie in the bath and drink red wine and pretend that the outside world doesn't exist. I will rub your feet while you do, I promise. You'd better. Trust me, this weekend is going to be the most perfect opportunity for us to chill out.
Chapter 3. Sadie. The Hone House Hotel has hosted Murder on the Moors every year, except 2020, when the event was held over Zoom. But the less said about that debacle, the better. And this year is a special celebration of the 50th anniversary. I'm expecting this to be the best one yet in terms of how much they pull out all the stops. Of course, the murder mystery element will be dull as all hell. It always is. Nothing compares to the real thing, but at least the champagne will be good. Hone House was built in the early 19th century, but in the Jacobean style and using local granite from Dartmoor. It's an imposing beast, almost stark in its beauty, with its mismatched spires, crenellated ramparts and leaded windows. The Devon sky is uncharacteristically blue, but I can see clouds rolling in over the moors. I'm expecting to see a few familiar faces as a Mercedes snakes up the winding driveway to the front door. Only 40 tickets were available, 20 teams of 2, all by invitation only. I don't even recognize the concierge. She must be new. I have a photographic memory for faces that comes in very handy, so I know I've never seen her before in person. She's wearing a 3-piece dark wool suit with a white starched collar shirt and plain black tie. It's somehow both incredibly modern and beautifully tailored, but also in excellent keeping for the 1920s theme of the weekend. Ali excuses herself. I'm assuming to ring some boy back in NYC, and I head further into the main entrance hall to check us in. The grand staircase rises before me. Hewn from a deep cherry-coloured wood, it has a central set of stairs before splitting into 2 at the mezzanine level to wrap around the entire hall. It still takes my breath away, even after all these years. But before long, I feel a deep sense of calm in my bones, as if I've come home. "Good afternoon, Miss Rose," the concierge says, leaving her position behind the desk to meet me. "Such a pleasure to have you staying with us again." I'm slightly taken aback. She's acting like she knows me. "Have we met?" I ask, slightly trepidatious that my perfect face memory is finally failing me in my dotage. "Oh, no, but I have it on good authority that you are our longest-playing sleuth." She flashes me a smile. Something shines in her eyes, something almost like admiration. She's good, I'll give her that. Obviously a graduate of some fancy Swiss hospitality school. They teach obsequious customer service over there. I'm not a fan. It makes me feel a little itchy, like I'm missing something. But I know plenty of people rave about this kind of thing. "This is my 50th murder on the moors," I tell her, keeping my voice neutral. I don't want it to sound like a brag. "And to celebrate, we've given you the very best suite in the hotel." She motions towards the check-in desk. "The Christie suite?" I ask. "Of course. Only the best." You cannot book the Christie suite, and I've never been deemed important enough even to set foot in it before. My senses are on high alert. Something feels off here, but I can't quite put my finger on it. "Sadie Rose!" A loud voice barks from behind me. Oh, merde. I thought he'd died, or at least had the kind of heart attack that precluded weekends on the Devonshire moors. I turn and paint a smile on my face. "Jasper," I trill, the way it's expected when you meet a man who thinks of himself as an old friend. "I so hoped you'd be here this weekend." He kisses both my cheeks, invading my space and assaulting my nose with a stench of cigars and his liberal application of Frédéric Malle, Portrait of a Lady. "I wouldn't have missed this weekend for the world." He guffaws a few times, like the cliché he is. I spent my whole life with men like this. I was bored of them 50 years ago, and now that has coalesced into an enduring ennui. "I've heard a new game is afoot." He waggles an eyebrow at me. He thinks he's being clever with the Holmes reference, but in reality he is one of the dullest-witted men I've ever had the displeasure to meet. I'm sure it'll be just as fun as every year. Another body, more intrigue, more clues. He taps the side of his nose. Not that I'll say any more. You are the competition after all. Is Mrs. Price Evans your teammate this year? I ask innocently. Mrs. Price Evans hasn't been to Hone House in over a decade, preferring to stay as far from the philandering old goat she married as possible, and allowing him free rein to parade whatever new girlfriend he's spending time with. I have a new filly this year. I try not to visibly react to his use of filly. She's a very clever young thing, he tells me. I highly doubt it. Well, good luck to you both. I try to catch the eye of the bellhop to help with our bags and get me the hell away from Jasper. Sadie? A woman stops me just as we're getting in the lift. I turn to face her. Yes? She's young and beautiful, and self-assured in the way I always dreamt of being, where the edges are still soft and people's immediate thought is that you must be nice. My edges are hard, and people always assume I must be a complete bitch. They aren't necessarily wrong, but maybe that's just because I've always played the role I thought was expected of me. How different my life might have been if I'd looked like I'd hug you instead of killing you. I'm Elle, and I'm with murderous intentions. She points at the cap covering her hair and the logo of the company emblazoned on it. We're running the murder mystery element of the weekend. You did last year too, I think, I ask. I recognise the company name, but I've definitely not met this Elle before. The company, yes, but I'm new to the staff. I can't wait to get this story started, though. She grins. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, I say, extending a hand to shake hers. Her nails are lacquered in a gorgeous deep red. You're a tiny bit early, so we're still running around getting everything ready. There's a folder of information in your room, but this is a special edition. She flashes me a smile as she hands over an envelope. And this is? I ask as I take it. This, she says, and touches the envelope with a perfectly manicured finger, is for your eyes only. There's something in the way she says it that sends a frisson up my spine. As the lift doors close and I begin the ascent, I slowly open the envelope, the paper inside thick and creamy beneath my fingers. No expense spared. I appreciate the theatricality of it, the attention to detail. Ali catches me up just as I get to the door of the Christie suite, so we get to experience the unveiling together. It truly is magnificent. There are 2 bedrooms, one on either side of a central sitting area, with teal and taupe sofas. The design for this suite at Hone House was loosely based on the vessel that inspired Christie to write Death on the Nile. Holy shit, Ali says under her breath. This must have cost you a fortune. I flap my hand, as if to say it was nothing, even though, if I'm honest, this weekend has cost an arm and a leg. I didn't expressly book the suite, it appears. I was awarded it as the longest-running player, which is nice. I mean, the suite is gorgeous. But hell, if it doesn't make me feel completely ancient. Ali picks up a sheaf of papers from the desk area and begins to read aloud. Welcome to Hone House and the 50th anniversary of our ever-popular Murder on the Moors weekend. Her eyes flick up to mine as if to check I'm still listening. This year, we are heading back to the golden age of crime fiction and the heyday of the indomitable Agatha Christie. Allie rolls her eyes a little. You have read some Christie, I ask. She laughs. Of course not. Should I have done? I motion around the suite named after her. Allie shrugs. Oh, there's an itinerary. She hands me a card with the programme for the next few days printed on it. It looks kind of busy. Almost every hour accounted for. There'd better be enough time for some actual fun this weekend. Day 1, Friday. 2 p.m. to 4 p.m, arrival and orientation. 4 p.m. to 6 p.m, afternoon tea on the lawn. 7 p.m. to late, dinner, drinks, and the day the sun went dark, lecture from the Astronomer Royal. Day 2, Saturday. 7 a.m. to 10 a.m, breakfast, cooked items from 8 a.m. 12 p.m. to 2 p.m, Dartmoor scavenger hunt with picnic lunch. 4 p.m. to 6 p.m, afternoon tea and games on the lawn. 8 p.m. to late, gala dinner, dress to impress. Day 3, Sunday. 7 a.m. to 10 a.m, breakfast, cooked items from 8 a.m. 11 a.m. to 12 p.m, denouement and prize giving. 12 p.m, guests depart. Happy sleuthing, the management team. Allie takes it from me and reads it for herself. She looks up from the page. Did they seriously sign this off, happy sleuthing? She rolls her eyes in a way only her generation can, imbuing the action with a million subtle clues as to what she really thinks about the thing she just read. I've always been fascinated by watching young people and the way they evolve a set of mannerisms and a language that is so uniquely identifiable to their cohort. It's amazing what you can figure out by watching a specific individual. But there are also shortcuts, markers of class and age and lived experience that are so easy to see when you know where to look. I really should have been a police detective. If only I'd lived on the right side of the law all these years. It gets worse. Her tone is bored. They signed it off as the management team. Ugh. Like that's a single entity? My boss loves to do that. Sign off stuff from the whole team, as if we're all one big happy family and not a load of poor students working for a pittance so he can buy another yacht. That's another thing about her generation. Money is dirty, and coming from money is something to be ashamed of. Although it does make her a lot more aware of her privilege, and for that I'm grateful. She picks up a folder and waves it at me. Homework? Oh, apparently I have some extra information. I pull the pages out of the envelope. For a Hugo Durbridge and a Jerome Fulker? Allie flicks through the folder in her hands. No, I have those here. Hugo Durbridge, age 74, from Notting Hill. Yes. And Jerome Fulker, age 52, who splits his time between Reigate in Surrey and New York. Oh, well, I put the pages down. Probably just a mix-up. I just hope the oversight isn't a sign of shambolic planning. I could do without this weekend degenerating into an utter disaster, like the time the compere got completely sozzled and blurted out the identity of the killer on the first night.
Chapter 4. Cassie. At Rani's behest, I take the motorway rather than the A303. It's longer in terms of mileage, but we're less likely to get stuck in traffic, and the Prius eats up the miles. The cruise control set to exactly 70. Rani is a calming influence, and I don't threaten to kill anyone, not even under my breath. After an hour, I know all the English parts to the new Blackpink single. Rani speaks 4 languages, and so she also sings along to the Korean parts. Another 2 hours, and I also know every word to the K-pop Demon Hunters soundtrack. It's surprisingly catchy. "Do you think it's super fancy?" she asks me as we cross into Devon. "The hotel, I mean." It's a slightly rhetorical question, as we've both pored over the website for the past week, looked at every picture tagged on Instagram, read every review across multiple platforms. It is unequivocally super fancy. "It's so fancy, you are going to feel like absolute riffraff," I assure her. We arrive at the hotel just after 3. "Holy fucking shitballs," Rani says as we travel up the long and twisted driveway, the moors falling away on both sides. "This place is incredible." Her voice is so full of childish wonder, I can't help but smile. "One day," she starts but trails off. This is a game we always play, the one-day game, a game of dreams and what-ifs and definitely some days. "One day," she starts again, and I feel her warm hand on my thigh. "You'll have a place like this." "How?" I ask. I know it's against the rules of the game. In the game, you're meant to accept that anything can happen. The game is about the outcome, not the practicalities of getting there. But I'm tired from the drive and I don't have the energy to play make-believe on the life we both know will never materialize. Not unless I have some super rich uncle I don't know about who will leave me his vast inheritance. "Don't we always find a way?" she asks in return. But it's an empty platitude. Guilt tickles my brain. I've ruined the moment, and I wish I could rewind a few seconds and simply smile instead. The hotel is insane. It was once the home of some minor aristocrat with far too much money, and that sense of opulence has been carried through all the decor. The entrance hall is panelled in dark wood, with huge canvases that showcase Dartmoor, and the parquet flooring has been waxed to a glorious shine. There's a grand staircase in the entrance hall, and I get a glimpse of huge Baroque chandeliers. Dotted around the space are large vases filled with hydrangeas in muted tones of green and rusty pink. I'm not really a flowers kind of girl, but sourcing floral arrangements recently became part of my remit at the Raven, so I've had to learn the basics. At the check-in desk, we find the first of our fellow mystery participants. "No, I don't think you understand." A man in a pair of mustard yellow trousers and a navy blue knitted vest layered over a salmon pink shirt says to the woman behind the desk. She is so perfectly beautiful it takes my breath away. "Sir, the booking was made for a deluxe Moorview room." She's matter-of-fact, face neutral, voice still soft even though it is obviously not the first time she's said that sentence to him. "I need a suite." "The hotel is fully booked this weekend, sir." Rani leans closer to me, her breath on my neck. "How long until he asks her if she knows who he is?" she whispers. 30 seconds, I reply. 20. She's closest, as it is literally the next sentence out of his mouth. Do you know who I am? He leans across the desk a little, taking up the concierge's space. Mr. Durbridge, sir. And so, you don't think I should have a suite? You booked a deluxe Moorview room, sir. The concierge has the patience of a saint, and this interaction goes back and forth for another 5 minutes as Rani and I stand and wait. Eventually, Mr. Durbridge gets bored and demands to speak to the manager. I will gladly get him for you, the concierge replies, with something approaching relief. At least then she can pass him off to someone else. She picks up the phone. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have Mr. Durbridge at the front desk. She pauses to listen to her boss on the other end of the phone. Yes, he's insisting he needs a suite, but we're fully booked. She nods a few times. Yes, his booking is for a deluxe Moorview. She twists a strand of brown hair around her finger. I've explained that. He would like to speak with you directly. She glances up and catches my eye. I give her what I hope is an encouraging half smile. She puts the phone down and directs her attention back to Mr. Durbridge. The manager will be down in a few minutes. If I could ask you to move to the side so I can check in the next guests. He doesn't even turn to look at us. They can wait. Fuck that. Actually, we've already been waiting for over 5 minutes now. I step forward to tell him. I normally avoid conflict like the plague, but I allow a little of my work persona to take over. The Cassie who takes no prisoners. You'd think they'd have more than one member of staff working, he says. Oh, bless. I think he assumed we're on his side. Ha! Work Cassie knows that the customer is definitely not always right. I believe you're waiting for the manager, so you could just step to the side. I'm not moving until my issue is resolved. He doesn't quite stamp his foot like a petty child having a tantrum, but he isn't far from it. I'm sure you and your friend can wait. This is my wife. He makes a pinched look, like he smelt something malignant. Oh. So, the concierge says to me and Rani, Mrs. and Mrs. Cole. I nod, and then offer up a smile. She was obviously given a list with descriptions of all the guests arriving, so she could greet us by name. It's a nice touch, but I don't envy her having to try to distinguish between all the crusty, rich white guys I can see milling about. I have you in one of our gorgeous suites on the 3rd floor with glorious views, she says with a grin. I glance at Mr. Durbridge and watch him visibly bristle that we have the very room he wanted. I didn't know we were in a suite, Rani says very loudly and not so subtly. Oh yes, the Tay suite. Mr. Durbridge huffs, the set of his shoulders saying he's seriously pissed off. Good. Homophobic wanker. Go stew in your little shithole of a room. Even though we all know that even standard rooms in a place like this are like palaces. It's hardly going to be like booking a room at the local Travelodge, is it? The Tay suite, apparently named after the crime writer Josephine Tay, doesn't disappoint. It's like something from a movie. There's a huge 4-poster bed and a seating area with a velvet sofa and chair. Everything is in deep jewel shades, greens and burgundies and deep blues. It should feel dark and almost claustrophobic, but the designer had such a keen eye that instead it feels warm and cozy and decidedly opulent. If I ever did own a hotel like this, I would decorate it the same way. I take a peek in the bathroom and find a clawfoot bath. Oh yes, this weekend is going to be very good indeed. Rani does a tour of the room, opening every drawer and every cupboard, commenting as she goes, "Oh, there's a hairdryer in the bathroom, and a charger for the toothbrush. Oh, and a minibar, fully stocked." "Don't touch it," I bark as she reaches for a miniature bottle of champagne. Everyone knows minibars are basically extortion. She pulls her hand back as if I've slapped it. "I guess I can't expense the minibar back to the magazine," she says, dolefully. Actually, it's a good question. We haven't handed over a credit card or anything for additional charges, and we signed a chit to be able to bill stuff directly to the room account. I guess the magazine who paid for this has left a card. Would it be taking the piss to have a little drink in the room? "How much did this weekend cost?" I ask, realizing I never even thought to before. 15, she says. Fuck! That's insane, even relative to the Ravens' prices. Well, I guess a suite for the weekend, plus 2 gala dinners, entertainment, unlimited drinks downstairs and wine with dinner. Then there'll be the cost of running the murder mystery part, extra staff and actors and props. 15 grand for a 2-night stay, I mutter under my breath as I cross the room to her. I wrap one arm around her waist as I lean to pluck a miniature champagne from the fridge. But fuck it, a couple of drinks is hardly going to make a difference. She whoops and takes the bottle from me. I grab one for myself. We don't bother with glasses, just smash the bottles together. Cheers, she says, making eye contact. I hold her gaze. Cheers to us. She continues her exploration of the room. Oh, what's this? She flips open the leather cover of the folder on the desk. I think this is about the murder mystery thing. We move the folder to the bed and make ourselves comfy with our drinks before flicking through. It's a handbook for the weekend, complete with descriptions of all the players. I guess I'd better unpack my new notebook. I try to sound nonchalant, like I didn't spend almost an hour traipsing around various stationery stores to find the perfect one. She is black, with a foiled art deco pattern, gilded edges, and has a matching pen. I'm so looking forward to this.
Chapter 5. Sadie. The phone on the side table trills loudly. Is that a landline? Ali asks as she edges towards it, peering slightly, as if it's an alien object. The phone itself is made from cream-coloured bakelite, the same model my grandmother had. I sometimes forget just how young Ali really is. Or is it how much older I am? The world has changed an unfathomable amount since I was her age. I pick up the receiver. This is the Christie suite. Oh, I do like saying that. We request the pleasure of your company in the Red Library, Miss Rose. The Red Library? I confirm, putting the emphasis on the red. There are actually 4 libraries at Hone House. The original owners were extremely well read, or at least they wanted the world to think that. Yes, there is a map of the property in your folder, but someone can come to assist you if required. I chuckle. I've been coming here for 50 years. I know exactly where to go. As you will. Please bring Ms. Williamson with you. Your teammates will meet you there. The line clicks off. Teammates, I say out loud. Huh? Ali wasn't paying much attention, flicking through the folder of information instead. We've been summoned to the Red Library. Apparently our teammates will meet us there. I thought we were a team, like the two of us. So did I. This is highly unusual, and for a moment I wonder if perhaps they've decided to break the usual format and try something a little more interesting. Who knows? This weekend might be fun after all. But I won't get my hopes up just yet. The Red Library is on the top floor of the hotel, tucked into one of the turrets. Personally, I would have called it the Octagon, or at least made some reference to the unique shape of the room. But whoever designed the hotel decided to concentrate on the burgundy brocade wallpaper and scarlet heavy curtains and crimson velvet upholstery on the chairs. Even the large table in the centre of the room is inlaid with garnet leather. The result is really rather fantastic, although it does look a little like the room has been dipped in blood. Perhaps that's part of the appeal? Not that there is any blood when I do my thing. I'm strictly a poisons kind of lady. Far less mess and far easier to walk away from. Why anyone would choose to kill another way, I have no idea. We find two gentlemen already sitting at the table. The one facing us is handsome, if a little severe in features. His cheekbones are sharp enough to cut glass, and with almost feline eyes. Both men stand as we enter, and the other turns towards me. He's a spitting image of the other.